All right, the intro. So I did not do the color guard all over the field thing. There's only 3 sets of 16, maybe another 24 before they really have to be in something. And in order to do an add-on sequence where you would start with the people in the front and then add on the people in the people in the back are generally the last ones to move, and there's really not a lot of time to get them through this many musicians and up front. So same concept of a sequential start, but with the color guard starting in a focal type situation. This doesn't have to be a circle. This could be just random people in random poses. It does not matter. But what you'll see is as the first couple of sequences progress is that two people add on to start, another 3, we add on another group, and then ultimately they're all out. Again, you do not have to have them in this shape. You could have them in this area. But again, you're going to want to watch clarity to the pit, making sure the pit is far forward. Another thing to notice is the drum line adds on sequentially. I really see this as an opportunity for you guys to play around with marching ability. The really, really strong marchers can be flying around. If you need to take it easy on some folks, you can. But you can play around with that space pocket back there and really make this work however you want it to work. Ultimately, they end up in what you would consider a traditional drumline form. But you can really take some time and play around with that based on how you want it to work. So let's take a look at these first 5 sets and how they animate. And as you can see, the tubas open up, the trumpet player comes down into the center, the tubas rotate. As the color guard's adding on sequentially, the drum line is adding on sequentially. This pass-through right here, a quick word about pass-throughs. The way I write, you're better off always teaching the wind players their paths first without the color guard being in there. If you try to teach this all at once, it's kind of a disaster. But if you work, in this case, the tuba section, maybe 5 or 6 times, really work at establishing their path and then add the color guard performers in one at a time. So you might do this 10 reps to get this right, but it's way better than having people run into each other. Keep in mind that we're still all on body here. None of this has any equipment in their hands yet. As far as this last set goes, once we're all moving, I'll slow it down a little bit. See, the trumpet player just pulls out. This kind of just folds in. This is rotating. This is rotating. I have this set to march on the halftime. That's an option that you can explore actually with both this low brass group, the bones, the berries, and the mid-voice group. You could do that as a 12 count move instead of 24. It's really up to you. I think that might actually work pretty well. All the diagonals I write are on the grid. Down 2 over 2, down 2 over 2, or back 4 over 4, back 4 over 4. So that should be pretty simple in terms of setting it up. And I don't know if you guys actually paint the 4s down on your rehearsal fields or not, but that can also help clean things up a bunch. If you have any questions about that, there is a cheater. It should be 7 feet, 7 3/4 of an inch for the 4 step marks because of how the hashes fall for high school hashes. If you guys are ever on a field with college hashes, let me know. It's really easy to change the hashes to college hashes if that's something that you're interested in. All right, so we'll stop here, and the next video will... Okay, so we're going to take the next couple of sequences here. I'll show them to you once, like as a group, and then we'll go back and we'll break them down. So we're going to take this set. This is the finish of the color guard adding on as they continue to wrap around in a circular motion. Again, we just covered this. This should be in halftime. We have a nice hold here. Unison push. Note this first group of color guard comes to the front sideline. In the second set, the second group of color guard comes to the front sideline, and then we'll start to push them out on flag to get to the opening impact for flag. You can see how that works right here. You could actually do a pairing thing right here where this first group brings out 2 sets of flags and hands off to this group. Depends on how much you want to play around with it, but there's a lot of opportunity there to do that in a couple of different ways that ultimately gets you to here. You could route G19 through T1 and T3 if you want. There shouldn't be a big deal. They really shouldn't have work until they get to the hit. So that's pretty much that entire sequence. We'll go back. We'll do these quickly one at a time. Again, unison push. It counts. Next set into set 8. rotation, rotation, gates, gates up here, filling in, nothing too crazy there. Then going to our first curvilinear set. You pull out, again, you're going to want to play around with paths in here. These C's should go straight back and then over. The L's and E's will have to gate back around like that, and a curved path so that they don't actually go through the C's. One more time on that. So again, those C's right there are going to push straight back and then over to their set. Everything else is just kind of unfolding. You're going to have to watch your trombones with gates and stuff like that. You want to try to make sure that they can hold space front to back. If they're not playing, it's always good to put their horns down. Obviously, you have to pay attention to that because it's slots. Next set into the linear. Pulling everything apart. A couple of gates here with mellophones. Flutes filling in. Pretty straightforward. That takes us into measure 28. Okay. Another hold for 29. Another hold at measure 30. So that's the first sequence of that. Measure 30. Okay. So starting here at measure 30, I'm going to move this down a little bit since we already talked about it. You can always see the counts and the count structures. The last sequence we did was up to measure 30. We'll take the next 5 sets or so that ultimately get us to, the mellophone split thing. Okay, so through this, right there. All right. So coming out of here, we're going to split the mellophones up. Again, you want to establish path with the mellophones and then add the color guard in. When this pushes over, this should be in halftime. So they're going to move 2 sets of 8 instead of fast 16. Okay, this is still slow for them. Tubas are going to go around the mellophones. Don't do any crazy pass-throughs when you don't have to. Just have them take a curved path around to the outside. You can watch how the color guard in here, again, you're going to want to establish your trumpets first. This trumpet 19, this goes around the front of the color guard, not through. And make sure there's nothing, no pass-throughs there, because they should be doing work by the second phrase. Again, pushing that baritone goes behind guard 10, no pass-through there as well. All right, so let's break these down one at a time. I know that trumpet thing looks a little crazy right there, but once you establish path for these guys on the inside that connect onto the tubas, then you're going to find that this other part is relatively simple. Okay, again, trumpets go forward and around the color guard, not through. These guys are reshaping over and maintain the connection to the rest of the low brass. Alto sax is coming through, so you're going to want to teach this first with these low brass folks and then add the alto saxes one at a time so that you can get a nice fill in there. You want to make sure the alto saxes don't push too far forward. And then the alto saxes will continue through and then ultimately end up meshed with this group of trumpets. Mellophones pull out and then add on to the trumpet horn. Next set. Trumpets pull out, they're actually going to go behind the alto saxes, coming around and reconnecting back onto the rest of the trumpet line. Up here we just have arc flexes. Remember, when you flex an arc, your intervals condense and then expand. If you want to play around with a true reshape, then that is going to be a consistent interval and a curved path. Straight line paths will condense and expand your intervals. Curved paths will maintain intervals. Note that we have a trumpet connector here when we join the two groups of color guard back together. I'll take you one more set forward to get to this party mix. This party mix is at a 1.5 step interval, so every other person is at a 3. The trumpets are at a 3, the alto sax is at a 3. When we mesh it together, it is a 1.5 step interval. So this group of color guard is repositioning down into here. Note color guard 9 is starting to drop out. Color guard 9 is going to be the first gift. Make sure that this performer is behind something in the pit, whether it's just something that you don't really notice that they're pulling out of the drill. Okay? This is all just reshaping. This is a fairly aggressive step size in here. I'm lying, it's not. It's somewhere else. All clarinets are going to go in front of the flutes. Don't let the clarinets go through any of the flutes right there. All right, we'll stop here. This is up to 56. Okay? That gets us to a nice hold through 58. All right, this is going to be 58 to the end. This is your last set of the opener. So let's take a look quick. So we hold, coming out of it. Couple of holds, holding for a while. Expand this arc out to a 2. Note that G9 is out with the gift. I gave you some different options here for G9. Depending on how you want to do it, it's up to you. G9 does not necessarily have to leave. You could keep the performer out in this pocket. I actually have arrows on the chart. You'll see the arrows when you're looking at the printed chart, and that'll show you where the performer should be. I actually think it would be cool to leave the performer out with whatever the gift is. I don't really think it's a great idea to just show it real quick and then take it away. So we're just kind of watching this develop here a little bit. Expansion to the end. All right, so let's break this down a little bit coming out of these holds. So we're going to start wrapping this around. This will increase in step size and velocity until you ultimately get into that dense form. Here you can see the arrows where I'm suggesting that you leave G9 out. Again, that's up to you, but a lot of times when you're judging and you see something that happens really, really quickly and then you can miss it, or you're going to give the judges an opportunity to see what you're trying to convey with the theme there. Okay? So that's going to come, compression coming this way, the next set. Curved path. We'll try to maintain intervals here. These guys are moving pretty good. No pass-throughs here with the drums. Let's take a look at that again for the drum line. So C's need to stay in front of the snares and tenors. Probably actually more about a curved path like this. It's the route you want the C's to take. And then they don't get in the way of the drum line. Okay? You'll note that the trumpet player eventually pulls out of the guard form, gives us a unifying arc all the way around. All right, take a look into the hit here. Tubas do gate, this is correct, so tuba 3 is going to want to swing down here to maintain space. Obviously with convertible tubas on your shoulders, you're going to have to really work that gate. See again, so tuba 3 will be down in here, closer to the trumpets and the altos. Right, there is no pass-through over here with guard 6. I originally had that dot up 1, but you're going to push G6 forward, so that collision should not happen. First half of the set for G6 will be a little bit larger, and battery's just pushing forward, so nothing crazy there. Flutes are really moving here, just so you know that. If you guys teach jazz run, that's going to be a jazz run. If you do the crouching roll, that's what that's going to be. So we nail this set, and we do a unison push forward, a little bit of an oblique. See, guard 9 is here, but I actually still have the arrows where I think guard 9 should be. This is going to pull apart. Color guard's going to follow the leader, 1 dot, really small step size there to give you lots of body. So all that's doing is pulling apart on the obliques. Next set is compression rotation. This, just make sure that the trombones stay on the right shoulder of the person in front of them for the slides, and you should be fine, because the next set is just going to expand. Watch that again. Note color guard is gating. Boom. Actually, the last set, you can pretty much ignore this 8 and just make it a 16 count move. Work a lot better for everybody this way. You are moving all the way to the end. I think you want to try to get you want to try to eliminate the repetition of always standing still when you're playing whole notes, like the big loud part. Every now and then you got to move through one of those and then stop when the music stops. And I think this is a great opportunity to do that because we already like built and stood still at previous impacts. So this one we're going to move through all the way to the end. I realize that might place a little bit of additional stress on the color guard because you already have your color guard book written. I don't know if that is going to necessitate a change in the guard work or not. You could probably look at having them move the first 8, which is there, and then holding the second 8. I don't know what that'll do. You might have to adjust the battery a little bit, but you could do it if you really wanted to. Again, in my vision of this, G9 is still out as an individual performer. All right, that's the end. All right, so this is the real view recording. All the instruments are correct in terms of what's in their hands. The bass drum facings aren't always correct simply because you have to assign that to every drill set, and ain't nobody got time for that. So let's take a look at everything. We're going to kind of go in a little bit more high speed, and here we go. So color guard add-on, continue to add on. First hold, picking up flags here. They did not have flags previous to that. Holds. Cell phone feature, halftime. Out. Wraparound compression. That's it. That's the opener.